All right, we're live. So welcome back to Dapp University. So today we're going to talk about an update for the U.S. infrastructure bill and what this means for crypto. Because, yesterday we thought things weren't looking so good, and it turns out that was the case. We really got screwed. So we're going to talk about that in this video, what that means, what there is for crypto, actually hope for this situation, and a lot more. We're going to look at the cryptocurrency markets, look at some other news updates that have happened in this space since yesterday, and answer some of your questions. So if you're new around here, hey, I'm Gregory, and on this channel, I turn you into a blockchain master. We do these live streams Monday through Friday in this channel. Just turn on notifications down below, subscribe. You'll find out about those whenever we go live. And if you want to learn how to become a blockchain master step-by-step, start to finish, then head on over to dappuniversity.com/bootcamp to get started today. All right, so we got people jumping in the chat here. Let me see. I don't actually see my chat stream working on YouTube. Let me just pull up. Hold on, everybody. Pull this up on a second screen here to mute myself so I can see the chat. Okay, we got people jumping in the chat here. We've got Automatic Beats, Culture Highs, Michael, welcome. Rodrigo, Wendy, Jeremy, Vitaly, hope I'm saying that right, Mike. So I'm about to actually look at the chat on a different screen here. Hope I can keep track of this. So we got different camera setup going on today. My main camera, again, I got to get this thing figured out. It kind of goes down on me sometimes. So anyways, we'll just go with what we got here. So, update on the U.S. infrastructure bill. So yesterday we were talking about how there's some wording in this bill that's going through the the normal process that we do in the United States. Again, I realize not everybody watching these videos is from the U.S. This is still a big deal for crypto on the whole. But basically, there's been a bill going through for infrastructure, some language in crypto about it that's trying to say if you're basically everybody in crypto who's not just a mining node or a wallet is now a broker, and you have to follow all these rules that you basically can't comply with if you're participating in crypto. So we had lots of people push back on that language, try to get it revised. We had some hope about some of these things, but it got yanked completely. And yesterday, it's game over for that amendment, all right, for now at least. So let's actually look at the official report here from Forbes. This will help explain everything. So anyways, from Bloomberg, my fault. So it changed their cryptocurrency reporting rules, and the infrastructure bill was blocked in the Senate on Monday, leaving language for broad oversight of virtual currencies still in the legislation that's set to pass the Senate. All right. So the amendment was designed to address concerns from cryptocurrency industry. The original bill require entities like miners and software developers to report tax data to the IRS that they didn't have access to. That's the whole point. It makes complying basically impossible. So the change was proposed after days of negotiations between 3 Republicans, Pat Toomey, Cynthia Lummis, and Rob Portman, and 2 Democrats, Mark Warner and Kirsten Sinema. So the amendment's failure represents a blow to crypto industry. We've been talking about that. So basically, this is bad for this particular bill in the short term, but there is hope for this. Okay, so Cynthia Lummis, one of the representatives that actually was fighting for crypto, is saying all that means is we're going to have to fight this another day because it's important that the Congress defines these terms and creates a level playing field. All right. So going forward, this fall, we're going to have to be much more proactive about defining terms in this space so people can still innovate. So the good news is the infrastructure bill and the crypto language are still a distance from becoming the law. The legislation has to be taken up by the House where changes can be made because don't forget, a little civics lesson here. In case you don't know how laws are made in the United States, basically, bills have a process that they have to go through before they become a law. We have 2 bodies. We have, 3, but we have 2 bodies where this happens, basically the Senate and the House. So it starts in one, and then it has to go through all these revisions and then go to the other. And then finally, the executive branch signs the bill into a law. So we're still in the early phase of this, right? We still have time to get this changed. It's not necessarily a done deal yet, but it doesn't look good that it didn't get fixed in the initial phase. Okay, so let's see here. But at the end of the day, basically, the thing that's so hard about this and why I feel like we really got screwed is we had actually a lot of people getting on board in support of crypto. Okay, and this is one thing that's really important to understand about this is I think this caught a lot of people by surprise. I don't think the intent of this language was really to just go in and like screw over crypto and then like, create this language that made it impossible for people to comply and just jam it in the bill. I do think there was some intent to try to impose some regulations on crypto, but I don't necessarily think that the intent was for it to be this broad kind of like, shady thing. And so I really think that I think it caught people by surprise how much, sort of pushback there was from crypto and how many people didn't realize really what was going on here. And basically, it was a wake-up call for other people that they have to take what's going on here very seriously. And when you see testimonies for the Senate from people like Ted Cruz, who's getting up there and saying, hey, this is a huge deal. Like he was there talking about, basically everything I was saying in these live streams past couple days, which is, if this gets passed and we basically are going to, we're going to keep Americans from innovating. Like you don't want to push innovating out of the United States if you're a U.S. citizen. That's just where I'm coming from. You don't want to lose out on, tax revenue. You want to have jobs in America, right? He actually said, he was talking about there's like, blockchain developers is like what we talk about on this channel is like, it's a really good high salary. You can support a family on that type of stuff. We want to have those types of jobs in America. And so when you have those kind of testimonies, like it's like a wake up call. It creates a new category for people that they may not have been thinking about before. Okay. So all that's really, really good. All right. So, and that's one of the reasons I don't think this is necessarily game over. I think it's, we kind of got screwed in the short term. But we do have time to change this. And even if it does like officially go through the entire process and become a law, like it's still not, it still can be changed. Okay. So those are things to keep in mind. And also last I understood, the regulations that would go in place here, basically would not go into effect for a few years, like probably like 2023, okay? So it would not be something where you just like instantly gets passed and then, like boom, everyone now has to comply. We have time to adapt. The other good news is you also have time to get it changed. So you have like basically a year and a half if it were to go into effect in January 2023 for it to actually, make up some ground in the opposite direction, assuming that this bill, actually does become a law. So those are my initial thoughts on it. Now I want to look at some other perspectives here, from some of the officials like Cynthia Lummis and others. Let me just pull it up and show you here. Now here's where it feels like we really got screwed. So basically, we did cover some ground yesterday. Let me just pull this up on my screen here. So basically, this was Rob Portman. So he's saying basically, I'm pleased to announce that Senator Warner Toomey, Senator Lummis, and I have reached an agreement on an amendment to clarify IRS reporting rules for crypto transactions without curbing innovation or imposing information reporting requirements on stakers, miners, or other non-brokers. Because that was the whole point. It was like basically everybody in crypto who's clearly not a broker. Like if you run a mining node or you're a proof of stake validator or you're a developer or something like that. Like you're not a broker necessarily, unless you're operating a cryptocurrency exchange. Like you're just not a broker. And so if you have these tax requirements, then basically you're just creating regulations that are impossible for people to comply with. And if they aren't compliant, it doesn't necessarily mean that they're like like the law has to be enforced against them, but it makes it very easy for someone to just enforce that law against them. So we covered ground on that, which was awesome. But this is where I feel like we really got, rugged, so to speak, and how we got screwed was, we made a lot of progress in the language, and then it came down to a final vote. And let's see here. So it came down to Richard Shelby sought to include the crypto provision, his amendment for $50 billion in additional military construction money. So this is a poison pill for Democrats. So Bernie Sanders objected to Shelby's provision, and Shelby refused to consent to the crypto change without the military funds, and that killed it. That's where he got screwed. So it was basically a showdown between Sanders and Shelby, and crypto lost. So that was sort of the death knell for the initial round here. Now again, we still have time to get a lot of this stuff changed. This is not necessarily game over. I talked about this a lot yesterday on the stream. Like, if you're running this type of stuff, if you're a developer. So let's talk about developers for a second, because I brought this up yesterday on the stream, but I'm gonna reiterate it. Some people might be wondering, like, hey, I'm like trying to change my career to become a blockchain developer, or I am a blockchain developer. Did my job now just become illegal? So no, not necessarily if you're a United States citizens, because at the end of the day, like, let's just say this does pass and it stays into effect and we can't get it repealed. If you're in the United States, like, building something versus operating something is a completely different story. So, like, let's say your job was to build a centralized cryptocurrency exchange, or like a token for, like, I don't know, an ICO or something like that. These would be highly regulated fields. Like, you can't just go hold an unregistered securities offering, right? Like, that fails the Howey test, and, like, basically you could go to jail for something like that if you created it yourself and ran it in the United States and didn't comply, all that type of stuff, right? But building it's a different story. Okay, someone could hire you to build it, and then they have the liability. It's different, not official legal advice, but that's like a situation where building it versus running it's a different story. So let's just say that now, like, everybody who builds a DeFi app now has to be considered a broker in the United States. Well, you creating it versus someone else deploying it and running it is a different story. So you could have basically people that are set up outside the United States as official companies that hire you as a developer to create it, and then they're the ones that hold the liability to run it, and don't have to comply with the tax reporting types of situations that are just ridiculous and burdensome. So I don't think that necessarily means that your prospects for a job are over. And I don't even really think they're going to be hurt, because crypto is a fast-moving force. And that's one of the reasons I'm so upset about the just the lack of the fact they're not taking this as seriously as they should, is because it's such a huge driving force that has lots of incentives for the entire world to adopt crypto. It's better, faster, cheaper. We're talking about financial transactions with, like, stable coins and transparency, all this type of stuff. Faster settlement. And so there's incentives for the entire world to adopt this. And, if the United States is going to stifle innovation in America, push jobs, limit jobs that could be created within the United States, lose out on tax revenue, push stuff offshore, push stuff onto black markets, like, it's just not good. All right. So let me know what y'all think down in the chats below. A couple other things that I saw here. And, talking about paradigm shifts, and what people are realizing here is, we're seeing things talked about that we've been saying on this channel for a long time, and people are actually waking up to it. All right, we saw this, expressed from Cynthia Lummis here. The future's in digital assets. This is exactly what I've been saying. If the future's in digital assets, then why does the United States want to basically cut themselves off from the future that the entire world has strong incentives to adopt? This is the type of thing that we would not see, represented in the Senate even 2 years ago. Okay, so we're undergoing pretty big changes in what people think about crypto, and regardless of what happens in the short term, this is pretty big. So let's see here. So I think if everyone pays their fair share, it's good for everyone. You want to evade the taxes with... So that's the whole thing, is, like, I'm not trying to get laws changed so that people can, like, evade taxes. Now, I mean, the whole tax conversation is a different story, but let's just say for starters that, like, crypto has to basically, has to abide by the same rules as everybody else in terms of reporting taxes, okay, or paying taxes, right? Basically, yeah, you pay capital gains tax. You're held to the same short-term, long-term capital gains rules as the equities markets. Reported the same way. That's fine. Okay, let's just say that we hold the line there. Well, we don't want to just add all this extra burdensome regulation on crypto that stifles innovation. That is not. It's creating a worse standard for crypto than what exists in, like, equities markets, for example. And they're not really the same thing, in my opinion. They're completely different. And one expression I've seen floating around online is that, crypto basically needs its own set of regulations built from the ground up to accommodate it. Because at the end of the day, like, I mean, I'm in favor of less regulations on crypto in general, but I do think that regulations are inevitable long term. I'm a realist in that sense that I don't think we're going to live in a world where crypto stays unregulated forever, as long as it's growing at the pace that it is and people see it as a threat. So that being said, like if the regulations are inevitable, they need to be built from the ground up. That's a sentiment that I'm seeing floating around online that I think is that I'm on board with. Is if we're going to regulate it, let's build it from the ground up. Let's actually have conversations with experts in the room, right? Where they understand even what a proof of stake validator is. Or when you throw out language that makes it impossible for certain people to comply, you have people there who can push back and say, "Hey, this is unworkable for us," so that we have actual, people with skin in the game helping form the regulations, and not just people who are just clueless, saying, "Well, let's just do this," and then you basically restrict huge categories of people from participating. So do you think there's regulation as a proposal, as a result of the government being greedy for tax money? Or do you think they just do not understand the tech innovation opportunities? Or maybe both? I think, honestly, I don't know exactly who included the language about the tax reporting and what their intent was. My guess is it was just sort of tacked on for an infrastructure bill. The whole idea here is to raise money for infrastructure. And so they're thinking, oh, these crypto people, they need to pay their fair share of taxes, so let's just slap this on here. Not realizing that what that's actually going to do is cause you to lose out on a lot of tax revenue because all these people cannot participate in the U.S. anymore, so they're just going to go somewhere else. That happens when you raise taxes anyway. Like, people are like, hey, let's raise taxes on the billionaires. And I was like, well, what happens with the billionaires? They just leave. It's pretty common whenever you change tax laws, you intend to do one thing, but you actually accomplish another. So that's my guess. Somebody says big banks own a majority of the politicians. I don't know that a majority is true, but I would not be surprised if a significant amount were bought and paid for. Corporations are greedy as well. The government best believe, yeah. So somebody's moved to Mars. Infrastructure is an umbrella term for everything that they want or whatever they want. That's funny. So, the crazy thing about this is basically crypto markets have completely shrugged this off. All right. So we can look this up here. Crypto's been on a move regardless of what's been going on here. So we can check on the Bitcoin price. Let's just check it out here. So Bitcoin, yesterday we peaked up at $46,000, a little over that, $46,500. Looks like it's trying to push towards 46K or 47K. So yesterday I talked about this, how we're above this moving average now, and now what I really like to see is to hold this as support. Okay. We've seen a lot of bullish signs, okay? We've seen what appears to be a trend reversal. Again, I'm not a big trader. I'm not a big technical analysis guy. I'm just looking at the big picture here. Things are looking a lot better than they were when we were down here, okay? So, we started to make higher lows, higher highs. We've reversed the direction of our shorter-term moving averages. We're above our short-term moving averages. Now we've breached we've broken past the much longer-term moving averages, and I'd like to see this get held as support before, too totally confident in kind of the direction that we're headed. That being said, I'm leaning very, very, very bullish right now. Now, we could see some prices go down in the short term. We see some corrections, but my opinion, in looking at the overall trend here, it looks like the market has definitely changed its tune since the end of July, when everybody was like, well, waiting around for a multi-year bear market. Yeah, I've been saying this whole thing that like I really just didn't think that we were going to have a multi-year bear market simply because the fundamentals have completely changed night and day since 2017, 2018. I mean, when the 2017 bubble popped, like people were scratching their heads, like wondering what we're going to do with smart contracts. Like DeFi was just an idea in people's minds. Like we kind of just had the beginning of some of those projects. But so much has happened. DeFi has exploded. We got NFTs. We've got layer 2 scaling rolling out for Ethereum. We've got all these new use cases are being made possible with the upgraded technology, tons of users. So quite simply, adoption is here, right? It's not mass adoption. It's not as widespread as it can be, but I really think I just really don't think that we're in some sort of massive bear trend, okay? Of course, it's not financial advice. This is just my opinion. I'm not telling you to buy or sell any cryptocurrency based on this information. But, I don't always try to predict short-term price moves, but, to me, it looks like we've made a trend reversal. I've been looking at that, for weeks now. Kind of been hesitant to make an official stance on it, but that feels like where we are. So same thing with Ether price. I think Ether's kind of following what is going on with with Bitcoin here. But doing well. Of course, the EIP 1559 upgrade was successful. We can actually check on how much ETH has been burned so far. So 22,000 Ether has been burned. All right. So I just refreshed this a few minutes ago on my screen. 12.58 ETH has been burned. We can see here healthy amount of ETH getting burned every block. We're starting to see, so ETH needs to be over 2 ETH to make sure you have a deflationary block. We've seen some pretty crazy blocks happen with some of the NFT drops that have been going on lately. People just paying insane fees based on just demand to get into the blocks when they're buying these NFTs. And so we've seen some blocks have like 10 ETH burned, something like that. It's been crazy. So let's look at, and I really do think this is been big for the ETH price. I think it's had something people get excited about for the Ethereum asset itself, or Ether, and then also, don't forget, ETH has to be used enough to become deflationary by nature, like I was talking about. We have to have enough ETH burned every block to do that, but we have proof of stake coming out in the relatively near future, okay? Whenever we go to proof of stake, the issuance is going to drop significantly, and that's when we're really likely going to see ETH be truly deflationary by design, or by nature, I would say. So you can also see this here. Go back to the infrastructure bill. Another thing people kind of wonder is how you can actually help crypto with politics, especially in the U.S. And we're starting to see people take this very seriously, that now crypto's on everybody's radar. We need to have official representation in the government, and people actually listening to us. So I saw a pretty good take here from Jake Stravinsky, who has been really good at, updating everybody on what's been happening here. So he says, it's great to see everyone excited about engaging in crypto policy after this whole fiasco. So my only advice for now is to avoid the "I just learned about the crypto lobby and I'm here to fix it" approach. So we have great organizations already. We need to support them, not from scratch. So this is actually really common when people are kind of brand new, or they just become aware of a problem and they're kind of naive about how to fix it. They think it's really confidently possessed that they have the best ideas on what needs to be done and they want to take action in their own hands. It's emotionally satisfying to feel like you're doing something. But at the end of the day, if you actually desire effectiveness and to actually effectuate change and not just like feel good, then the most effective thing is support people who have already gone in, who are much smarter than you. I mean, that's not like an insult. It's just people who have like have the experience and have thought about it and know what works, saying, how do we support those people? So how can you support them, financially? How can you support them? Ask them how they need to be supported. That's the best way to do it. If somebody needs help, how do you figure out how to help them the best? Ask them. Don't just suggest, like, I know what's best. So I think that's a pretty good take. That applies to things not just in crypto, pretty much everything, where you see problems and want to help. It's best to try to figure out, who's already figured it out and ask them how you can help. But it's also true here for crypto when you're trying to figure out how to actually effectuate change with policy. Somebody wants me to run for president. Nah, I'll pass. That's like one of the last jobs on the face of the earth I would want. So ETH 2.0 this year. So I don't think so. That'd be very optimistic. I think a more realistic, slightly ambitious, conservative projection would be Q1 2022. Somebody says it's coming, though, December. They moved the time bomb. I had to just check. I see things that are different all the time. It's one of those things where you don't really know the official date until weeks away, honestly. This is really what's happened. They've seen this at EIP 1559. We've seen with other hard forks in the past, other changes when we launched the beacon chain. We heard, people talking for months and months and months and months and months about, what's going to happen, and then things get pushed back or then they get moved ahead. And then typically what happens is somebody, on the core team says something, and then somebody picks it up and circulates it widely, maybe out of context, maybe it wasn't even true. And then people say, oh, this is going to happen on this date. We've seen updates about this, kind of get changed, but usually we don't see an official statement that says it's going live on this date until it's usually pretty close, like weeks away. Somebody says, do you think the bear market will come then? That's a good question. I've seen some takes where people think that ETH 2.0 unlock could be the top. I don't know. The question is, if it is the top, what will a bear market look like for crypto now that we've reached this phase of adoption? Will ETH drop by 50%? It just did drop by 50%. Will it drop by 75%? The whole thing is people are trying to use models based on the past, to say, oh, it's going to look like this, when usually stuff doesn't repeat exactly, especially when the nature of the thing itself has changed significantly, like the adoption that we've seen. Just look at everybody who's made really bold predictions online and how many of them have been dead wrong. You know what I mean? So it's like, it's kind of hard to tell. Somebody says the government is so underwater, it's an international embarrassment. Yeah, I can resonate with that sentiment. A lot of debt out there. So the last thing we can check on here is the ETH to BTC ratio. This is the ratio of the ETH price to the Ethereum price. This kind of tracks the progress of Ethereum potentially flipping Bitcoin at some point. So we're at 0.06. I think the ratio at the current price is we're about halfway to a flipping. I can actually check a flipping calculator here. with like ratiogang.com. So you can see, yeah, 0.16. So ETH need to be $7,200 right now, the current Bitcoin price, to flip it. All right, everybody, that's all I got for today. As always, smash that like button down below for the YouTube algorithm. Subscribe to this channel if you haven't already. That really helps these videos out so the more people can learn about blockchain. You know, if you're as fascinated with this technology as I am and you want to get your hands dirty, how can you get started today? Well, you can go to my YouTube homepage. You can find my free courses there. They're like Udemy courses, but they're totally free. And if you like those and you want to take the next step, or hey, maybe you want to take a master shortcut entirely, I can show you become a blockchain master step-by-step from start to finish over at dappuniversity.com/bootcamp. You don't have to be an expert to get started today. I've helped people with zero coding experience become real-world blockchain developers in a matter of months. So that's all I've got. Until next time, thanks for watching.